Hey everybody, Z Garcia here. Today I'm going to be taking a look at one of the latest expansions to Neuroshima Hex. This is the Beasts expansion to the game. In this one you are going to get a new army, of course, with all of its tiles. And the idea here is that these are mutated / enhanced creatures that are so violent, that are so territorial, that they will attack even their own units. And so when you play with this army, there will be a new symbol that shows up on the sides of the units that means they attack anything they're pointing at. Your enemies, they're taking a hit. Your own units, they're taking a hit. It doesn't matter, so you need to manage what's in the way. Before, it's something you could completely ignore. You put your units right next to each other and not concern yourself with that. Now you need to be worried about that. And like I said, they're very violent, so they have attacks in many different directions. Now, one thing I will not be doing in this video is teaching you how to play Neuroshima Hex, or the basic idea of the game. I'm just covering this expansion here. If you do not know how to play, this is not going to make a whole lot of sense to you. It already probably doesn't. But you can check out some of our videos for both the core box and previous expansions if you want to see sort of what's been available in the past and generally how the game works. So we'll go ahead and take a look at what's in here. I'll give you a look at some of the units that come in the box here, and then we'll talk about, well, what I think of it. So with Beasts here, you are, of course, going to get an army. You are going to get a sheet that explains the background story, the deck a little bit, some advice, tactical advice, the new rules, such as friendly fire, a very big new rule, some special FAQ and special rules. And then on the back of this, you are going to have the breakdown of the entire faction and all of the different units, what they do, how they behave. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of these things on this board here. So the first one, of course, we'll look at is the HQ right here. So the HQ, you'll notice, is fairly standard except for the fact that it hits at initiative 1. So it's a little faster than most other HQs in the game. And it comes with this Cerberus piece right here. So this one you need to put out when you put out your HQ. It's sort of a part of it. It'll go next to the HQ, and that symbol there, which is shared with the HQ, means layer. This needs to be always connected to the HQ. If it ever, for any reason, is no longer connected, it is removed from the board. It has initiative of 2 here, mobility and toughness, and it hits 2 this way, 2 that way. You'll see that the new symbol there with sort of the hazard signs, or the lines, is going to be that friendly fire symbol, which a lot of the units in this game are going to have. So for example, here we've got this unit that is going to hit in most directions at speed 2, initiative 2, but it's got friendly fire. So what does friendly fire mean? Well, friendly fire means that if you attack when initiative 2 comes up, it's going to eliminate or hit for 1 everything in all of these areas, whether it's a friendly unit or not. The Beasts here are particularly aggressive. It's an extremely aggressive faction that is trying to spread out as quickly as possible to its own detriment, because you end up sometimes being so efficient at dealing damage that you damage your own units. And so this creature here would hit this one right there. It can take it. It has a toughness, so it can take 1, but you probably end up eliminating a lot of your own units, okay? Along with that idea of friendly fire comes this idea of agony. You'll see some characters that have an initiative symbol that just has an A. That A stands for agony, and that means when this unit is eliminated, it attacks. It activates as though it had whatever speed round we're in printed right there. Unless it itself is the one it does have printed, 1, in which case it does not activate twice. So if this dies during initiative 1, it's just activating its normal time. If it activates at initiative 1 and then dies at initiative 0, let's say, it activates again at 0 and hits with friendly fire in all 3 of those directions. And so that's a new symbol you're going to find on several of these things. There's also some netting that's going to happen, again with the idea of friendly fire being allowed, if you want to call it that, on this netting. So very dangerous. Now, not everything has friendly fire. You have this adorable / terrifying little guy who simply has distant fire there at 2. And some of the other things that you'll see, while they do have distance or friendly fire, are not nearly as reckless, like this character right here does have friendly fire, but it's only at one spot, and you can freely rotate this on your turn. It is speed 4, an incredibly effective unit. Hopefully not pointing at one of your own, but again, you should be able to manipulate that unless one of yours gets pushed in the way or something like that. You've, of course, got all of your attacks. As usual, you've got 6 of these battle symbols. So that's pretty good tempo. You can normally, with 6 of these, that's pretty good to control when a fight should or should not happen. There's a few other special ones, like this one over here, called Hunt. And Hunt says you get to choose one of your units, you can move it, and then you can attack with one of its edges. So this activates a tiny attack on a single unit that you get to move and just activate one side. Boom, attack something. That's really cool. I love micro attacks like that, targeted momentary attacks. It's one of my favorite things in the game in any army, and this is a very cool one to eliminate something on the board that is not just, oh, a grenade, boom, eliminate that unit over there. Who tossed that grenade? Well, it doesn't matter who tossed it. No, with this, you know exactly who made that killing move. I did it with this guy, you know what I mean? I moved him, he pointed this way, and bam, I killed it with this tile here. And of course, this wouldn't go on the board, but you get my point. So I really like that. We've got some grab tiles as well. These are going to allow any friendly unit to grab an enemy that is one space away and bring it in. So very cool. And a few other things like that. But generally, you now understand the usual flow here on the general idea of the beasts and why they are so dangerous both to their opponents and, unfortunately, to themselves. Alright, so that is a quick look at the units in Beasts here. What do I think of this one? Well, as more and more armies for Neuroshima Hex come out, and there are a lot of them, sometimes you'll end up with one that has to make design space somewhere. And so they find some interesting rule that makes an army feel very thematic and very engaging and interesting, but adds a lot of rules complexity on top of the system. And those are usually not the ones I tend to gravitate towards. I find them a little clunky at the end of the day. I find that they just end up getting in their own way for the sake of, again, originality. I'm all about originality. I really enjoy that. But when you lose gameplay efficiency, I don't like that. I do not think Beasts falls into that category. I think this is extremely clean. This is an army, a faction in which the idea and the thematics tied to that idea come through very well. This idea of animalistic blind rage exploding on the table, right? Just being so territorial that they're territorial towards anything, these creatures. And the rules are pretty simple. This idea of, no, though, that hit with the striped yellow and black lines just means they hit their own guys too. Okay, that's like 80% of the rules that make this faction unique. And it's such a simple thing that no army had kind of generally tackled before, and now having played them, it makes you wonder, how had a faction not done this already, right? Because it is very simple to do. It's a clean idea that you need to be mindful of where you put your units. And some armies who can push units are going to be very deadly against you because they can just sort of push your units into your other units and they'll take each other out. So I really like that. I think it's a very interesting and clean, mechanically, faction that manages to still be thematic and feel original. That's pretty cool. It's not the most incredible theme. It's okay, mutated dogs and oxen and, you know, what's in here? Monkeys and lynx, you know, weird stuff like that. So that's cool, and I like the illustrations quite a bit, these sort of mutated, mixed up animals. It doesn't scream Mad Max to me or like, you know, post-apocalyptic. It works well, though I do like it, and I like the illustrations, like I said. I just think it's a really good fit for what's going on. So very cool theme. Now, as far as unique units, and by that I mean really like outside of the box ones. There is one, I did not show it to you in the overview, but there is one that is pretty cool and different. It's one called Vulture. And this unit, you have two of these. It has two abilities, Flying and Scavenger, okay? It's very slow, initiative 1. It hits on a single side, no friendly fire on this guy. And the Flying means that it cannot be wounded by melee attacks unless it's netted. Very cool. Very resilient little guy. And then Scavenger means that after a battle, you can move the Vulture to any empty space on the board. Which again, makes it very cool, very simple to understand, and very unique. And that's what I mean by having the thematics of a scavenging vulture that flies around picking at, you know, leftovers. Having that tied to the theme and mechanically and thematically coming together to give you something that is not just fun to play, but easy to understand. I would not have a big problem giving this faction to a player that is pretty new to the game. Maybe not brand new. I want them to appreciate how crazy it is that this is bending and breaking one of the core rules in the game, right? So I wouldn't want to throw this at them right away. But after you've played all 4 factions in the original game, you want a little more. There are many factions, armies, that I would not give to players and say, okay, you've played those 4 original ones, try this one. There's a lot of them I would not do that with. I think with beasts, if they like this theme, they're like, oh yeah, monsters and ripping the enemies to shreds. I think they could handle this right away, and so I really enjoy that. So there you go. I think this is yet another fantastic army. It's surprising to me that they can still come out with these armies and be fresh, original, thematic, and not convoluted. That's the main thing. So Beasts from me, it's going to get a solid 8 out of 10. I really like it. I would definitely recommend it. That is a seal of approval, of course. A fun one to play for advanced gamers who've played the game a lot. A fun one, I think, for relatively newcomers who are going to be excited about the idea of this mindless horde of creatures just jumping into the battlefield and wrecking everything in their path. So there you go. That is Beasts. 8 out of 10 from me, folks. Thanks very much for watching this. My name is Z Garcia. I'll see you on the next one.